nervous. I have done this talk close to 1,000 times. So, all over the world, mostly in this country. So, this morning I was a little bit nervous because, so my slide was not jumping from my computer to the main computer. So, one of the lectures, just to ease out the tension here, one of the lectures, somebody asked me in the restroom, "Are you nervous?" I said, "I'm not. I have done this at that time 500 times this lecture." Then she asked me, "Then what are you doing in this lady's room?" So, with that in mind, do I get to change my slide or? So, this is my journey. I'm going to share it with you. And we have written it in many, many books. And one of the books is the textbook in medical schools, which is called Handbook of Mind-Body Medicine. My wife Kusum and I have a chapter in it exactly on the topic that we are talking today. Then we have our own heart disease book, which was published in early 90s. At one time, it became bestseller in India. Now, so our hobby is reading and writing books. My next book is going to be how to read 1,000 books in 1 year and still remain married to the same wife. She's going to be part of the author by the way in that book. So, next slide, please. Now, this is where our journey started. 40 years ago we started, and 20 years ago we had a big breakthrough. We were in all national media because we presented this in San Diego at the Town and Country Hotel. That is not only that anger kills you by a heart attack, but we have a method using computer software how to teach you how anger changes your heart and how you can save your own heart. 1,300 people were in the Town and Country Hotel. They had standing ovation with tears. And that put us in the national media. And that took us to the circle of Dr. Oz and Dr. Randolph Chitwood from East Carolina University in South Carolina. How about that? And he is a professor who has done more than 10,000 heart surgeries, and they invited us 3 times. And the unique thing, very touchy, is when we went to the toilet, a restroom, men's room, then Dr. Chitwood, he says, he opens up his shirt in front of Dr. Oz and me and says, "I have been zipped and unzipped." What he meant is, I had an open heart surgery myself and have been put together, and today I'm a non-invasive cardiac surgeon. That was very touchy. Now, the thing I put this slide first is, because we have treated 2 heart transplant patients, and one of them is a teachable moment patient for you and for me as well. And this patient happens to be the Indian, Desi we call it, and he had a heart transplant, and his children said, "My father, when he sings the song, 'I left my heart in San Francisco,' he literally means it." So, here's the transplanted heart was getting damaged by his own anger. And now, with the new research, we know that, the new innervation occurs on the transplanted heart, but it was not innervation, it was a Wi-Fi connection between the brain and the heart. In Sanskrit, we say, "Hrit prano, samano nabhimandale, udano sarva shariragaha." What it means is, your life may be in the heart, but it is balanced by your gut, and it is spread all over. Your heart can stop, but you will still continue to live. And that is why saving your heart is less important comparing to saving your body. And that is the message I have. And here is the message I have for you. If you wreck your marriage, you can go and find another person in the society as your next spouse. If you wreck your car, you can go and buy another brand new car, maybe Tesla. But I want you to be a better driver first. So if you wreck your heart and get a brand new heart by transplant, your new heart will get damaged. I want you to take your body in a reformed way to pick up your next heart. So with that note, let's go to the next one, please. My message to you is I'm not a cardiologist, but I'm an arteriologist. And in that media, when media said I'm a cardiologist, quoted me as a cardiologist across the world, I said I'm not a cardiologist. And then I went for advanced training in metabolic cardiology and became a cardiologist through back door. But today I want to claim myself as an arteriologist. Invest in your artery, because if you invest in your risk, you are reclaim your benefit, and that investment can be as little as a minimal thing like attending this attendance, and that is called butterfly effect. Reversing heart disease is just starting your new life with the butterfly effect that you have started, and that can prevent tsunami in future. Next slide, please. Presentation format today's lifestyle is epitome of coronary artery disease. In my 40 years, I have had milestones that I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to update that milestone to 2019, and actually it is 2020. Next year, car model starts appearing in the market today. Okay, so and how can you use the update to save your heart? More importantly, to save your life, because the heart you can buy another one. Okay, next one, please. Now, the epitome of coronary artery disease is lifestyle. The new guideline published in 2018. Two things important for you to remember. Number one is lifestyle. And 4.5.1. First time in the world, the guideline has picked up Indians have unique risk of coronary artery disease. And that is 2018 publication of guidelines that we all follow. Next one, please. Next slide. Okay, while it is waiting. So, the guidelines are, it's not jumping next. Okay, if not, you could. Yeah, that's it.
No.
One more forward. Okay, here we are. This is the most quoted, after Framingham study, today on this planet, the most quoted heart study is INTER-HEART study. INTER-HEART study, look at the risk for 90% of people who have a heart attack. They studied 15,000 people who had a heart attack, and 90% of them have these risk factors. And I am going to focus on this lifestyle management, particularly the diet, and then the activity, you can call it exercise, and then emotional management and so forth. Salim Youssef is one of our colleagues, and we met him in a very unique way. We were attending a common function in Chicago, and then there were less the cars and more people. And then everybody was asked to pick up whichever car you want, and then Dr. Salim Youssef happened to pick our car. We had a rented car. My wife and I gave him a ride. Then the first thing when he sat in our car, I told him that you picked us, now we're going to pick you and your brain. And then we picked his brain all the way along and learned firsthand what this INTER-HEART study is. Next slide, please. Dr. Enos is my mentor, guru, and we work together. And he's the first person to say that the coronary artery disease is more common in we Indians compared to any other ethnicity in the world. And now, his book, then literally, we have read every letter of the book because we edited it. My wife and I sat nights and nights and nights and edited that book. And his latest 10 facts of heart disease in Indians, just he published it last week in Atlanta in front of 2,000 people, perhaps 3,000 people at the API meeting. And he got the Lifetime Award for his unique achievement of this one. So next slide, please. This is the LP(a) concept is now again validated, extracted from INTER-HEART study, published in Circulation. Next slide. Now this is the other stress test. The stress test, you know, is running on a treadmill and looking at the function of your heart, or how much supply of the heart is to happening to your periphery, and also to supply of oxygen to your heart as well. That is common stress test. This is the other stress test, wherein we test and find out how stressed you are. And then we did this with Peter Nixon from London, England, and he has been our colleague for a number of years. And then Bob Freed from Hunter College, New York. He and I put out a book every 3 years. And the most recent one we have written is on nitric oxide and how it dysfunctions your endothelium and how to correct it with the natural supplements, L-citrulline, not arginine, that you can test it by your saliva. Okay? Now, we did this capnometer. Now this one here, if you look at it, the 39 to 40 is normal capnometric reading. When you are not stressed, and when you are stressed, it drops down as you see it here at 27. Based on this concept, we can test anybody's stress. I mean the other stress, your psychosocial stress, within 5 seconds, and that's what we test in our office using a capnometer. And based on this knowledge, we created a master's of degree in breathing, and we have bp.edu. If you want to write it down, we offer this 1-year course and master's degree in breathing, and that is it is a recognized, WASP approved degree of master's, and that one, the pre-qualification to join that course is that you should just be breathing. And you can get a degree. That's the prerequisite. And not only that, you should. It's bp.edu. bp.edu. Okay? And it is, we got it approved through state of Wyoming. Okay? And so, next slide, please. This is my wife's thesis on biofeedback assisted anger control in reversing heart disease. Believe it or not, we did this study in the building next door to us, and then many cardiologists cooperated with us. And then today it is a reference book. Next slide, please. Not jumping next. Okay, here we are. This research is based on our collaboration with the HeartMath Institute, Boulder, California, Boulder Creek, not Colorado, California, near Santa Cruz. And this is McCartney there, Rollin McCartney. He came to our institute, and today, if you want to learn, any of you, how to control your anger and how anger is causing your heart disease, you don't have to go to a doctor. You can buy that software and link it to your iPhone or your Android, and you will learn experientially, what we call interoceptively, what happens to your heart when you get angry moment by moment by moment. And the easiest way to do that is recalled or remembered anger, and it changes your heart in one moment. And then you will realize how anger is causing and aggravating your whole body's balance. And that is HeartMath and our work. Next slide, please.
Do we get these materials, whatever you are sharing?
I don't know, you could ask the organizers.
Yes. Yeah, we will post it on the website.
You could take a picture if you are for instant gratification. So, workshop with Dr. Oz, we created a system called New Era in Cardiac Care in 1998, and we did the workup for 2000. At that time, we didn't know Dr. Oz is going to be so famous and a celebrity. And then he made a U-turn, and from being a doctor, he became an actor and a celebrity. And next slide, please. Circulation. And this is 2016, most recent publication telling that anger is one of the factors in causing a cardiac event. In a person who has an angina, Between a good day and a bad day, there could be 100 times difference in the symptoms, and it is not based on the anatomical blockage, it is a functional blockage of your arteries. And that is why reversing heart disease is not recanalizing the artery that is blocked. It is going after the forces that, it is not reconstructing the egg that is broken, it is going after the forces that broke the egg in the first place. Next slide, please. Now, this is the original research that put me into heart disease research in Indians. We, with Dr. Superko, you can see that I'm one of the authors who first time in the literature showed that HDL2B factor is critically less efficient in Indians. Now, how many of you believe good cholesterol is good for you? Please raise your hand very quick. Good cholesterol is good for you. How about more of the good cholesterol? Is it better for you? Raise your hand. How about most of the good cholesterol? Is that the best for you? Raise your hand. The answer is too much of a good thing is not good for you. And why so? Here is the thing. Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. It is a U-shaped curve published by Emory University, Atlanta researchers. Name is given there. What does that mean? What it means is that good cholesterol becomes dysfunctional when you have inflammation in your body, particularly measurable by hsCRP. Most importantly, the researchers said it is based on myeloperoxidase, MPO. So if you have very high good cholesterol, check your myeloperoxidase like we do, and then we will fix that high myeloperoxidase by working on the inflammation. Next slide, please. That led to further development of South Asian Heart Center, of which I am one of the original founder and also medical advisor for it, along with Dr. Enos. And then they have Samsar in Canada, and we have Masala study in UC San Francisco. These are the three major studies that are happening in this continent on heart disease in Indians. Dr. Salim Yusuf is starting a 1 million people study in 14 different sections of Kerala, which has the highest incidence of heart disease in India, and he is starting it next year. Next slide, please. This is, if you Google and see Killer Belly and my name in 2006, I published it on the internet, and that is Killer Belly. And the more of visceral fat you have, more is your chance of heart disease and dying from it. Next slide, please. Now, this is Masala study. Masala study is Masala stands for it is a acronym for managing risk factors in South Asian Indians living in America. Masala study has 4 findings that is important for you to know that I use in my practice. Number 1, the main reason we have that increased heart disease in America is because we are having acculturation. In India, we have a different culture. When you come to the West, we have a different culture. In India, when you meet somebody, you shake hands. The flip side. In India, when you meet someone, you say namaste. And in this country, when you meet someone, you shake hands. When you shake your hand, there is a hierarchy. The shaker and the shakee who started shaking you. But when you do namaste, you are already subservient, and you at the lower level said namaste, and then the upper guy says namaste. Now you are even because you are lower, you are elevated. And that is why our culture is different than the culture of the West. And that acculturation produces stress. You are not being loved in the society. Then you go home and you start eating sweets too much. This is the Masala study. And that leads to abdominal obesity. Then what about, people ask me, what about sugar causes all that? What about sugar substitute like aspartame and saccharin or the new one, sucralose, which is called Splenda? So the answer is, remember this very clearly, sugar is a substitute for carrying love and acceptance in the society, and sugar substitute is a substitute for the substitute. It is just like buying fake diamond with counterfeit coin. Both are fake. Okay? So that leads to abdominal obesity. And next one, please. And the abdominal obesity is the excess of calories that comes whether from fat or from carbohydrate or from protein. The excess of calories leads to fat spillover, and that accumulates around your heart, in your abdomen and everywhere else, and causes the problem. I am going to ask you, except those of you who are my patients in the audience, I want to ask you one question here, and that is the 32 million or 64 million question, whatever you want to call it. What is one method that is proven? By the way, for this research, they have spent $36 million to prove this point. And what is the one method that definitely, evidence-based way reduces your abdominal obesity? Okay, anybody can answer this except my own patients, and I will give my book as a gift. Yes. Eat less is good, but in a different way. Yes. Is it every meal you eat less, or you skip your meals? Which one is correct? Intermittent fasting. Yeah, who said that? Yes, Dr. Vij, I give you a copy of my book. You don't have it. Okay? So, you get the gift. And that is Dr. Walter Longo. Go and Google prolon.com or prolonpro.com at the doctor level. And in our clinic, we have hundreds of patients who have gone through it, including myself and my own family, and it definitely reduces your visceral fat. How and why? Science. How and why? Once again, science. Why? The answer is you are feeding the body below the perception of the radar of the nutrition sensors called IGF-1, mTOR, and stem cell. If I feed below the radar or the perception of your body, telling that I am fed or not fed, if I feed you at that level, you can fool the body telling I am giving you a little bit of the food, but you are not detecting it. For that reason, your body is experiencing and biologically transforming itself into a fasted state, and that gives you the benefit of visceral body fat. That graph is taken from his research, from his website. And what does that mean to you is that, it's called fasting mimicking diet. But we have mimicked the fasting mimicking diet. It is mimicking the fasting mimicking diet, and I have people in the audience who is going to testify for it, who are coming from our clinic, and later on we will explain it to you. Next slide, please. We are almost at the tail end. Next slide. Okay, here it is. Inflammation is a key factor that produces cardiac event of a heart attack or stroke, or the last thing, and is the last moment of your life called death. And that is, inflammation is the trigger, and that causes that event. And how do you measure the anti-inflammatory power of your body at any given time? By omega, previous slide please, omega index. And we have been doing this in collaboration with Dr. Ross Holub from University of Guelph in Canada, 60 miles north of Toronto, for the last 30 years. And that test is being, previous slide please, that test is now available here for omega index. And it is also, now if you look at the physician's heart study, I believe, and then more of your omega-6 pro-inflammatory in your membrane phospholipid, more is your chance of your heart attack and all other issues. So stopping inflammation is we worked with Dr. Barry Sears personally. He trained with me along with 20 other doctors in the country exactly on this process of what is inflammation and how to counter it, how to measure, monitor, and modify the silent inflammation, which is, with the next slide please, with the Paul Ridker from Boston, has become today the standard of care, and that is published in New England Journal and Journal of American College of Cardiology, and including intestinal microbiota, how when you change it, how it changes your inflammation. And the next slide please. And that is gut microbiome. And I would like you, those of you who are note takers, to take this very carefully. And that is, this is published on April 30, 2019 in American Journal of Cardiology. And in the entire, this is the first time ever American Journal of Cardiology has published and accepted that the gut microbiome is a major player in inflammation and coronary artery disease and diabetes, and including the type 3 diabetes called Alzheimer's disease. And what do we know more about it? The more about it is that you change it by changing the short chain fatty acids, which is the propionic acid, butyric acid, and acetic acid. And by taking the resistant starch, particularly, you can like things like, the beans and lentils, and also in this country we have supplements of resistant starch that you can take to produce your short chain fatty acid. And furthermore, in that particular context, if you are a listener learner, that is, auditory learner, then the American Journal of Cardiology has a 30-minute of podcast that you can listen. Podcast is recorded by the editor of the journal that will give you a complete summary. Additionally, it tells you the microbiota change in congestive heart failure, atrial fibrillation, and so forth, and how you can reverse it. Okay, next slide, please. And this is, people ask me, I have some of my patients in the audience, doctor, I know you did this complete analysis on me, can I not take statin? I don't like statin. And today I have a legalized way of answering that, and that just published on the first day of this month, July 2019. And what is the previous study, previous slide please, and that is, these are the factors we test in our clinic. Calcium score, duplex ultrasound of your carotid, and then ankle brachial reflex, EPO, HSCRP, LP-related transferrin, and last but not least is how happy is your heart, which is called a galectin and NT-proBNP. We test it in every patient, and if that is high, your heart is crying, I am stressed, I need help, and we can reverse it. And that is why reversing coronary artery disease is not recanalizing the blocked artery, it is reprogramming your body to enjoy that heart in a better way. And this galectin 3 and NT-proBNP is reversible, and we prove it to you. Next slide, please. And this is a mnemonic for you to understand how you can make a note of what you have learned today, what you're going to learn later on today. That is A for assess. The first A has to be how can you kick your own ass, okay? And my wife said, don't say that. It's not a 4-letter word; it's a 3-letter word, and that's why I can say it. Okay. Now, assess aspirin controversy, then anger, and avocado. And later on, in a private time, I will explain to you how avocado can save your life. And then blood pressure, breath, sleep apnea, butyrate. Butyrate is a short-chain fatty acid, the key player in reversing your gut microbiota. And the next one is the cholesterol, CRP, the inflammation marker. Cooking oil, omega, not omega-6, but any other cooking oil is okay. Omega-6 is pro-inflammatory, addicting. It acts as an endocannabinoid stimulator, and it gives you more munchies. You eat the same oil, same food, same Chinese restaurant like Panda Express. Okay? Now, cigarette, if you are a cigarette smoker, that's a different issue. Diabetes, diet and vitamin D, exercise and elevate, non-sticking, and then fat. And then fart. Fart is not Fresno area rapid transit. I am talking about the gas you pass from your body with sound or silently. The question is that farting, it is not. What is the opposite of old fart? I mentioned earlier, it is not the young fart, it is the new fart. And the new fart you create by consuming that resistant starch that produces that, and it is therapeutic. People ask me, my women patient ask me, I want to be more ladylike. I tell them, women should get exactly the same benefit of the therapeutic farting, just like men do. Okay.
Equal right.
And then lastly, gut. And the next slide, please. And this is the last message I have to give you, and that is, if you follow some of the principles that I have mentioned it to you, that is, you can live and die with the heart disease, or you can die from heart disease. Now, those of you who are sitting in the back, if you can see it clearly, if you can read this clearly, you are getting too close. Too close. You understand me? If you are reading this very clearly, you are getting too close, because I died from heart disease. And if you still didn't understand, if you can't see it clearly, like the Zen master once said, if you can't see it clearly, close your eyes. So close your eyes and understand that there is your own risk, and then kick your own butt. Thank you very much.